What's up, internet? Today we are going to hack this here Cooler Master AIO liquid cooling system. Now, this particular liquid cooler is phenomenal. I've been running it as my daily driver in this rig right here for a good 6-7 months now. I've been running a 20% overclock and it has been amazing as far as temperature control. No qualms about it. My biggest issue though is because of the case itself, the way it's laid out, I have no choice but to mount the radiator here with the tubes on the top and the pump then sitting slightly above that. So the pump is getting airbound. I can hear it. I can hear the sound of air splashing and sloshing through the pump. And it's making me a bit uneasy. So the plan is we are going to hack the AIO, and then we are going to essentially make it become a custom loop by adding a reservoir. The reservoir is going to sit in the unused CD drive tray here. In fact, I don't use either of the two, but it's going to go in this one because I do plan on getting a Blu-ray player because Blu-ray. Now, before you call me crazy, I have already tested this on an older AIO, so I know this will work. It came out of my old computer that I don't use anymore. There's parts everywhere. Anyways, let's get to it. Hacking. Alright, now the first thing we're going to want to do is get the lines off of the radiator side first. Then we can drain the loop and it'll make the next step a little bit easier. But for now, we got to get one of the lines off. Now, the trick is you need to know which line you want to take off. Or maybe you're going to take them both off and just do complete custom. But I want to do minimum effort, so we're going to take off the suction line that goes to the pump. Yeah. So in my particular setup, the way I want to do this, I want to take off the suction line that goes from the radiator to the pump. And that is going to be the one that is then going up to the reservoir. That way the pump is always taking from the reservoir and doesn't actually have to suck fluid. The gravity is going to basically feed the pump, and then the pump only needs to push out to the radiator. Should make life a little easier for it. Now, as we get started, apologies in advance, I am a mechanic by trade, so my hands are not Hollywood hands, and they're in fact the exact opposite of that. I'm sorry. Now, this particular cooler has a bit of nice wrapping on the actual tubes, held on with a bit of heat shrink, so we're just going to start by peeling that off so we can get to the actual hose that's underneath. Being careful not to damage anything that we may consider important. In this case, I consider the actual barb that's built into the radiator to be the important part. Again, sorry for the hands. I know they look disgusting. I almost don't want to post this video. But we'll see what happens. So, next step, I want to see if I can pull this sheathing. There we go. Alright, so this brings us down to the corrugated tube that's actually the line. That looks like, what is that? That's just double stick tape? Yeah, that's just double stick tape holding it there. Okay. So this is a plastic corrugated tube. Basically, it's like one of those silly bendy straws you get from like a souvenir drink cup at an amusement park or something. It's a plastic straw. I swear that's all it is. But we want to loosen this up. Right now I cannot twist it. It will not twist. It will not turn. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to make life a little bit easier, is I'm going to soften it up with a little bit of heat from our friend Mr. Lighter. Hope this doesn't white out the lens. There we go. Little bit of heat. Lots of smoke. Don't worry, it's fine. Now this should... Okay, see? Now the line can twist. I know it's a little bit looser now. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a thin slit through the hose, being careful not to nick the metal barb of the radiator. If you do that, the new hose we put on may not seal. I'm going to go, say, I don't know, 70-80% of the way through. We're gonna score it. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. We're scoring not cutting, we're scoring. Alright, so that should be a nice score. And what that should hopefully do is weaken this up just enough. They need to go a little more. Just a bit deeper. Again, do not want to hit the metal underneath. Just want to get, there you go, see? Alright, we've switched camera angles, as you can see. That line came off with a bit of vigor. But now that the line is off, the next step is to drain this loop. And I am just draining it into a cup because that's what happens to be next to me, and this thing was spilling everywhere. And I didn't want to make any more mess than I have. Interesting to see that the coolant in this is green. It almost makes me wonder if it's just like automotive-based coolant. That would be interesting if it's just ethylene glycol. That would be interesting. I gotta spill some. It's sweet. Oh my god, that's ethylene glycol. That's automotive coolant. I know that taste. Spit it out. The ethylene glycol will kill you. It's poison. Do not drink. I tasted it and then I spit out. But yeah, interesting. So I am going to blow into the other end of the hose that we took off and get all this coolant out of here. Alright. Next. Alright, we're back at the top down view, and again we're just gonna trim off that bit of heat shrink for the decorative sleeve here. Yeah, this is a lot easier when I'm not trying to be in the camera and actually manipulate it the way I want. Alright, and actually, yeah, that worked out really nice. So what I'm now going to do, hey, I should probably put this back in frame. Haha. Alright, so I'm just going to take this decorative sleeve completely off, out of the way. Don't need it right now. I don't think we need it at all, really. Next, we're going to get this off. The reason I wanted to get the coolant out of the loop first, because the coolant does actually have to act as a heat absorber, as it should, and it makes heating this up with the lighter a little bit difficult. Again, this is stuff that I figured out with the other AIO on the computer that I'm not using, so that I can get it all sorted out before I did this to the one that I am using. This is my daily driver. I use this every day, and I'm hoping to be using it by the end of this video to edit this video. Okay, so right, lighter. Now you cannot see because I'm out of frame. That's better. So I'm just heating up that plastic. Careful not to touch anything else but that. And when it's sufficiently hot and soft, it should just come right off. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Again, I swear this is just like a souvenir cup bendy straw. Now for the next step. Next step is to, I guess, put this back in and plumb the loop the way I want the loop plumbed. Oh, sad face for those of you who are wondering. No, I'm not going to be using any kind of fancy clear tubing. Just kind of borrowed some of this from work. Just some automotive fuel line. It's rated for a pretty decently high pressure. It's not affected by coolant at all. It's good rubber. Yes, is it going to look ugly? But you know what? I want this to work. It's not RGB, but hey, who cares? Moving on. All right, welcome back. That was an adventure. I wish I could have brought you with me, but I needed both hands and I couldn't hold the camera and do what I needed to do at the same time. But radiator is mounted, fans are in, faceplate is on. The faceplate is on because the way this case is set up, there's like a lip here, and any item you put in the front needs to go in last because they can't pass through the case. I don't know if maybe that's a normal thing, I don't know. But anyways, here is the reservoir we'll be installing today. Nice little acrylic reservoir. It fits in that empty CD drive slot right there. It's got a built-in temperature probe. It's going to allow me to basically just keep an eye on the level and most importantly, get the air out of the system. And yes, I know, ugly hoses. But let's get this in there. Alright, and there's the pump in place, my lovely rubber hoses. The reservoir is there. No, it's not going to stick out. You can slide this, move it. That's your fill port there. So I'm going to get it filled, bled, and we'll check it for leaks. Alrighty diddly ho, neighbor, we are all plumbed up. The system is filled. It is actually running. No leaks to be found. Everything is nice and dry. All of the fittings held. Right now, just the pump is running by itself. We're running off of another power supply just off to the side, just because I didn't want to hurt the CPU. But we are all bled out. If you're wondering what I use for coolant, I just reused the coolant that we took out, and obviously that wasn't enough because we just added a big chamber to this. And so I also mixed it with the coolant that I took out of the other liquid CPU cooler. There it is. So both of these, they're both Cooler Masters, but that's a Cooler Master, this is a Cooler Master. So it's both Cooler Master coolant, so it's not like I'm mixing things. Like I said, I'm still very surprised that that it appears to be automotive type coolant, though. That's interesting. I could be wrong. Maybe it is a proprietary blend of that they have, but it seems like automotive coolant. So like I said, yeah, system's totally ready to go. We can slide this guy back in there. Yeah, I know I got my ugly hoses, but yeah, I guess we'll just get the system fired up and see what she does performance-wise. Alright, there we are. It's up and running. You can see our temperature. Little gauge is working. Coolant is flowing. The system is operating. All of the RGB is there. And if you look at our temps, everything seems fairly normal. We're just going to hit it real quick with a Cinebench run. And she's going to chew through it pretty quick because this here is a 4-core 8-thread Intel i7. We are overclocked to 4.8 gigahertz. It's originally a 4.0. Turbo's up very nicely, as you can see, holding 4.8 on that overclock rather well. Temperatures, okay, doing all right. I did swap out to one of those graphite thermal pads as opposed to the thermal paste that I had prior, just because I wanted to see how well it did. Not the worst for a very heavy load that honestly this computer's never going to see that kind of load in my use. I think that's alright. We'll see how that thermal pad does in the long run. But yeah, so temperature it's saying is 32, 33-ish degrees. We've got 30 on the gauge. That jives pretty well considering this reading is being taken after the radiator. So the CPU is reporting its temperature as it is hot and running, then the coolant is flowing through the radiator and then being measured in the reservoir. Reservoir is after the radiator. Well, yeah, there we go. There's a nice hack on the AIO. It honestly doesn't look bad in there. Those rubber hoses kind of blend in, I guess. Yeah, there we go. I hope you enjoyed.